Hi guys, welcome back. So today I am here to create a full stack application where we are using Nextjs for front end and for backend we are using Express.js, and for the database we are going to use MySQL database with Prisma. So Prisma is basically we are going to use because this help us to not write any queries which we used to write in MySQL. Instead, we will access those by using objects. So it is basic. Prisma is follows the ORM model. So this is the application which we are going to create. This is Todo app, and here we are going to implement the features like create. So when we click on create, it will redirect to our create page where we can fill this like demo for this video, and simply if we need any color we can choose. If not, if we don't want to choose, we can deselect it and just simply click on the create task. So it will create our task. So now you can see our task is here created, and if we want to change anything from this, simply click on the task and it will redirect to our edit page where we can edit the task. Here anything we can write, and if we want to implement or select any color, then we can simply select and simply click on save. So this will save, and you can see here we have our card is updated with color and the text. But suppose I want to select another color like blue, then just click on save. You can see it is changed. So, and also if the task is completed, then it will get like line through. So when if the task this task is done, and if so I simply click on here, and you will get a pop-up like our task is marked as completed and it is done. And here at the top you can observe like here it shows the count of tasks, and here is like how many is completed out of how many, like 3 out of 3 is completed. If it is not completed, suppose 1 is not completed, then you can see here 2 is completed of 3. And if we don't require this task, then we can simply delete it by clicking on this delete icon. And when we click on that, we will it will show us a model which is asking us to confirm that we need to delete or not, because once we delete it will be permanently deleted. So here in the box we need to type delete to delete this. But if we instead of writing delete we write anything else, then and click on delete, it will show like we please type delete to confirm. So we need to type delete only, other text doesn't work. So here I typed and just simply click on delete, it will delete our to do task. And if when if the model is open and we don't want to delete, then we simply here click on cancel and it will cancel. So this is a simple application which we are going to build, but it is a full stack application, because if I refresh this you can see here our data is still here and these are not locally stored, it is coming from our backend database. So I will show you how we are going to create. So let's start. We will start by creating first backend, then we will create our front end. So let's go to our editor, and here I have created a folder called to do app backend. Inside that we need to first initialize our package.json. So npm init and simply dash s for everything. So now you can see it is generated our package.json, and this is our package.json. Here to start working with our backend, we need to install some packages which are required to create our backend. Like here we are going to install express course.env and also Prisma. Simply install these packages. Here it is installing. Okay. Until then here, okay, so these are installed. After this we need some more dependencies which are required, like we are going to create this application using TypeScript, so we need to install as a dev dependency. We need to install um, what it is called TypeScript. So TypeScript related all the, so here I will enter type TypeScript, and also we need TS node, and also we need um, along with this we need types of course and types of node, types of express. So these are required to start working with the TypeScript. And to set up the TypeScript, we need also in the root folder we need ts config.json file, and in this we need to include this thing like compilation options. So I will provide this in the description, you can copy from there. So this is required to work with the TypeScript. And after that, to run the application here, simply, so before that, this is we need to create our main file. So let's create first folder structure, and then I will show you how we are going further. So first we need to create source folder. Inside that we need index.ts and also add.ts. So I am going to follow some structure which I felt best. So you can follow the same thing, or you can create as you like. So but I felt this structure is works pretty well. Because of this, code readability increases. So let's go to our index.ts, and here we need to so let's go with our app.ts, and here we need to import express from express, and we also need to import course from course. And now we will create app.express, and here we will pass all the uses of the uses like course we needed, and app.express.json is also needed. And I will export this file as app by default. And now I will access this app in our index.ts, and here we will listen our server. So we need to simply import app from /app, and here we will create like const port is equal to process.env, and this is our port. So to get access our environmental variables in our, like uh, here we need to create our environment.env file, and here we need to pass our port like 5000. So if we want to access this port in our here index.ts file, we need to import our .env which we have installed from just now, and we will here just configure .env.config, so it will help us to access our environmental variable. After this we will access our app, and we will listen to our port number just now which we have here declared. And in this, so listen takes two parameters, port and the callback function. So in the callback function we can pass any message, like here I am passing like console log server is running, and here we will pass https this one. Now to run this application we can run like node src slash index.ts. So this will also works. but sometimes we need to run this application always. So to avoid that, we need one more package here. So here, let me close this, and we need to install npm nodemon as a dev dependency and simply install this. So after installing this, we need to change our script. So here in the script, I will write dev nodemon src slash index.ts. Now if I run npm run dev, then you can see our server is running on port number 5000. Now let's move further. Start working with the with creating the routes. So let's go to our source folder. Here we need to create routes folder, and inside route folders we need to pass task routes. Means we need to create task routes.ts file, and this is the file where we will create all our API calls like get, put and delete methods. So simply to create the routes we need to import Express from Express, and from Express we will create our router. So router is equal to express.router, and this will create our router. And to access this in the our app.ts we need to export this. So I will export as default router. And now let's go to our app.ts. Here at the bottom of app.use, here we need all the routes will be defined here. So how we can define is like we use like app.use, and here inside this we will pass like slash API, and it takes in the second column it takes our route. So how we will pass, first we need to import our route. So import task route from slash route slash task route. Okay, and simply we will pass here our task route. Now you can see our server is running properly and there is no issue. Let's go to our task route, and we will create our first route, which will be our get method. So router dot get slash tasks, and next field will be callback function, which takes two parameter request and response, and this method will response dot send, or response dot status will be 200, and json will be message, json with will be message get all tasks. Now let's go to our localhost 5000, and simply here we will call our api slash tasks and just enter. So here in the app, so we are using core and express.json. Everything is good. In the index.js we are importing our app and we are listening to this port. So let's go back to our here. So API slash tasks is not working. Why it is not working? Here is the tasks. Here we are passing tasks. The app we have API. Let me test it like slash. Okay, so slash is working. API is not API slash. So API slash tasks. API slash dash one v1 slash tasks. So we are starting with API, then it is not working. Okay, let me keep like slash only, and let's go here and just we will remove these. So you can see we have created our task here. Okay, I got it. Our server is already running on the 5000. That's why these are these these are we are getting from our old API. But currently we are creating another API. So let me change our environment variable to 6000, and let me shut down and restart again. So now you can see our server is running on 6000. Let's go to our here, and where we are. So in the app.ts, let me change it back to APIs, and let's go to our 6000 port, and here APIs, APIs slash tasks. So let me open this again. What happened? Let me stop old server, and what we can do is run this again. Let's go to our 6000. Okay, why is not working? Localhost 6000. 6000 is not there. 4000. So let me change to 4000. Might it work? So let's go to over here and change it to 4000. Simply shut down this server and run it again. So now it is running on 4000. Let me open. So yeah, it is working now. So simply what we will do here, we will go to our path, and now you can see we are getting our message like get all tasks, which is defined here in our task. Like you can see here what we have done. Now let's move further and create our APIs. So first what we will do, before creating other controllers, we need to first initialize or set up our Prisma and connection to our database. So for that we need to go to our terminal, stop this, and we need to here, okay, 1 second. Okay, so let's go to our browser, and here in the browser, in the Prisma, you can see we need to install these two things. We have already installed, but let me install it again so we don't miss any packages. So simply I pasted here and it is installing. So it will take few seconds, and yeah, so we have installed our Prisma. And after installing those things, what we have to do is we need to here initiate this. So we need to run this command and simply paste it here. So what it will do is like it will generate our DB connection. So here it will ask for a reason, just click enter, and here we can give any name. I am making default name, and after that it will take few seconds and it will generate our Prisma schema folder here. So by default it uses Postgres database, but we need to change to our MySQL database, as we are going to use MySQL database. So simply, so you can see here it is generated Prisma folder. Inside this we have a Prisma schema Prisma. So when we click on that, it will show us two things: generator client and the database DB. So here in the provider section we need to change it to MySQL because we are going to use MySQL database. And here in the output we can remove this output because I want to store the output in the node module. So by default it will go to our node modules. Now after that, here is showing something like what is our next step. So we need to define the database in the schema, and then we need to run this to implement. And okay, so let's create our model first. So task model, let me create. So if we see in our, what it is called, so if we see in our application front end part, like this one, so here you can see we have like in the to do task we have like title, is completed or not, and some date and time, like that. So let's go to our editor, and here we will create model. So in Prisma we will create model by using the keyword called model, then we will give any name. So here I am giving task, and by opening the curly bracket, then inside that we need to define the columns. So I need id column, which is to be string, and here it should be id, and default it should use uuid. So this will generate a string random string, and it will be unique, that is assigned to our id. Then we need title, which is also a string. Then we need color, which is also a string but optional. For that we use question mark for optional. And then we have like completed boolean, by default will be false, and created it and updated it. So this is the columns which are required to create this task model, and only this is required because we are not creating like complex applications. So it is to do app is simple. So in that, just we need our task table model. So let's now, after creating our model, we need to migrate. So you can see here it's saying to apply migration, we need to run this command. So simply copy and paste it and just run it. So here you can see what it is saying, Prisma environment. So we haven't connected our database URL. So let me in the database. So in the environmental file, here we need to provide our database URL, which is equal to this path. As we are using the MySQL, so here we need to pass MySQL. If we are going to use Postgres SQL, then we need to pass that here. And here in the username, mm, I have downloaded MySQL Workbench. So the password and username and password I have set as a root, and it is a local host on port number 3306, and DB name is MyDB. Okay. So after this, now if we try it should work. So you can see it is like, here you can see we got like Prisma migrate, and in that we have this migration. So let's go to our Prisma, and you can see our migrations, and inside we have those things. Also, we don't need to open those and check. Simply what we have to do is, if we want to see this table is working or not, everything is correct or not, simply we need to run this command, that is npx Prisma Studio. But to use this Prisma, we need to go to our package.json, and here we need to, inside the script, we need to enter Prisma slash Prisma. After saving this, just run this command here. Then it will create a server, and here you can see our table called task is done. You can see this is our table name, and this is a field in our table. So our setup is done. So let's start creating our API routes. So let's go to our task route, and here we will create now all the routes which are required. So let's start with our first route is post route. So router dot post here we will keep the path as like task, so it's tasks, and here we will pass the function called the create post method, and this method I have to create. So let's go to our, okay, so we need to create another folder in the source folder, which is called controllers. So controllers are like all the, for all the methods in the route file, all the control for those route files, route path, controllers means these functions will be in the controllers. So in the controllers, let's create like task controller dot ts, and here we will create our what it is called, all the methods which are needed in the route task routes. So before that, what we have to do is like I will create, okay, let me first create controller and I will show you why I am going to create middleware. So here what we have to do is like export const create post method. So this method will be asynchronous, and it takes two parameters, request and also response. So two methods it is taken, means two parameter is required in this method. And after this, what we can do, so as we are using TypeScript, so we can here write like colon slash request, and here we can pass colon slash response. Now in the inside this method we will write the code, but if to handle the errors, we use try and catch method. Like here we will use try and catch and errors. So this is try and catch, we need to type again and again if we create multiple methods. Like if we are creating multiple methods, then in the each method we need to write this like try and catch, we need to handle the error. So to simplify that, we need to create a middleware function which help us to reduce our time and handle error at one place. So in the source folder we will create another folder called middleware, and inside that we will create method called catch async errors ts, and inside this method we will create a function which will be like const catch async errors, which will be a function arrow function, and this function will return this function. What it does is it returns it returns a function which takes three parameters, like it can be request, response, and next, and it simply returns a promise. So here we will need to pass promise dot resolve, and in this we will write, we use this function, and we will pass all the parameters and catch. In the catch we will pass the next. So if there is any error, it will resolve here. If not, if there is any error, then it will come here and shows the error. So in this way it works. So to solve this issue, like here we are getting an error, so simply as we are using TypeScript, we have to define the type. So this is request, this is response, and for the next it is like a next function which is coming from our Express, and simply we will export this as default. So this is the middleware function which we will use to handle the error. So let's go to our controller. And here in the controller we will first create our create post method. So simply I will remove this and I will use the catch error method which we just now we have created, and I will pass our asynchronous request inside that, like it is a request response. So in this way if we do, then we don't need to always write try and catch methods. Now inside this curly bracket we will write all our code. So first we request the body. So from the request of request dot body we will get two things. First one is title and second one is color. Color is not mandatory, but these two we will be getting from our user. Now here title is required. As you know, in the schema we have defined, like let's go to our schema. So you can see here title is required and these things are also required, but color is optional. So we let's go to our method. So here we need to handle that the title is required. So if title is not there, then it simply return the response with status 4000, sorry 400 dot json, and here in the error message we will write like what we will write here, title is required, we will be writing. After this, okay, so we are getting here error, like why we are getting express is not collaborative. So type number is has no signatures. So type signature is not okay. So what we will do, let me check by let me quick fix why it is showing this error. Okay, I got it. So we need to get this request and response from our express instead of from the node.js. It's okay. It is working good. After this, what we have to do, so everything is good. Everything is good. Like a user has entered title, then what we will do, we will create insert into our database. So const task is equal to await Prisma. So here we need to access our Prisma client. So to access that we need to first connect. So let's go to our source folder, and here we will create another folder called config, and inside that we will create a file called prisma.ts, and inside the prisma.ts we need to import our Prisma client. So here import dash from client means Prisma client. Here we will use Prisma client. So now after importing our Prisma client, we need to access. So const Prisma is equal to new Prisma client, and just we need to call that method, and also we need to export it. So simply write export const Prisma and new Prisma client. So now this client we will ask access here. So simply import our Prisma just now which we have created, and here we will enter like task dot. So in the Prisma what is good is like after importing, when I here like dot enter dot, then it will show us our table name which we have created. So that is useful. So we will select the table, and inside that we will create. How we will create? So in Prisma we create like in the create method we will pass an object called data, and for the data we will pass our uh, fields which is taken by the from the user, like title and color. So these two are These two are passed by the user, so these two is inserted in our table. Now after successfully done, we will simply return our status with 201 JSON slash task. So this is, so in this way our first create post API is created. Now let's go to our task route, and here we need to import our create post method. So here you can see we are getting error like no loader matches this call. So the last overload has been given an error like argument function is required. Okay, so here also we need to in the middle what it is called in the middleware. Let's go to our middleware, and you can see here also we are not importing from our Express, so we need to import this request and response from Express, because you can see in our package we have imported our types of Express, so we need to use it. If we are not using TypeScript, then it is fine. So let's go to our task routes, and now the error is gone. Let me run now our server. So npm runs dev, and you can see our server is running successfully. Let me open our, okay, we don't need postman, we can do here in VS Code only. So I am using here Thunder client, so you can just go to extension and search for Thunder client and you can use it. Okay, here showing me restart extension, so I will restart it, and let me open our extension. So click on, after installation you just need to here click on new request, and you can see this one. Suppose if I send, then you can see we can see our response here. So let me use our localhost 4000 API, and here is slash task. So we don't have get method, that's why we are getting like this. But just now we have created post method, so let's go to our post method, and here we will, in the body section, select JSON format, and here we will pass our title. So title is demo title. Okay, and simply send it. So when, now you can see we got our response, status code is 201, and this is our response is created. So our post method for creating the create post method is working properly. Let's go to our editor, and here now let's create get method to get all the to get all the to-do list. So here simply what we will do, we will create like router dot get. Here API is same, API path is same, but method will be changing. Like here we will create method like get all tasks. And now what we will do, we will go to our controller, task controller, and here we will create our get all task method, get all tasks method, which is same as above what we have done here. We need, till here it will be same, like it takes two methods, two parameters, request and response, and this method returns an object. So inside this, now let's get our all the what it is called, all the tasks. So how we can get all the tasks? So we need to like const tasks is equal to await prisma dot task. From inside the table called task, we will getting the data. So to get all the data we use find many, here there are many options like find first or throw, find many, unique. So here, as we need all the tasks, we need to use find many method. And so if I simply write this like this, and this method will return our task. Suppose if I simply call this method, let's go and call this as a get method and send. So you can see we are getting an error as server is refused. So let's go to our server and see why it is refusing. Okay, so we have created our task here, but we haven't imported here. So we just import this. Now it should be working. So let's go to our Thunder client here and send. So you can see here we got our to-do list. But what happen if we have more than two? So let me create another one like here two. So this is another title. Send. Let me send it as a post and send. So you can see our title is created. Another title is created. Now let me get all the titles. Means all the tasks. You can see here our recent created task is down and the old one is up. But what I want is I want always the recent created to-do list should be top. So what we can do, so let's go to our task controller, and here in this method, here in the many method, we need to pass some object. Like if we want to order by, so we will using order by, same as what we do in MySQL. So order by, and this task will be ordered by created at date. So based on the date and time, I want it in the descending order. So I simply pass descending. Now after saving this, let's go to our Thunder client and here just get the method. Now you can see our recent created task is above and the old one is below. So in this way, our get API work. Okay, so now um let's go to our task route and see what we can do. So we have created post method and also get method to get all the tasks. But but let's go to our browser and let me show you. Okay, where is our server? Yeah, so this is our project. So you can see here we are getting all the methods by using get all task method which we have recently created. But if I want to get this particular task, so when I click on that particular task, then we should get. Okay, so I have shut down our task, so that's why, means I have shut down our backend, that's why it is not working here. Let me enable it. So let me run our backend again. So npm run dev. Okay, so yeah, now it is working. So let me go back, and so when we click on this, then what happened, it will fetch our particular task that is based on our id. So we need to create this route, means this API, to fetch only particular task based on id. So let's go to our editor, and here what we can do is like we need to create another get method which is task slash id. So to access particular task by id, we will be passing like this, and here we will create another method called get task by id. And we need to, okay, here we are router, and now we need to create controller for this. So let's go to our task controller, and here we will create export get task by id, and it is same. So I will be type, just simply I will type request, and response is response type. Okay, so till here is everything same. Now what we will do, first we will get id from user. So as we are passing our id to here, like in the search bar, so which we call as params. So from there we will get our id. So here we'll write const id is equal to request dot params, request dot params, and here is the const. Okay, so this should be inside this curly bracket, not outside of that. Okay, so we are getting id, but if what happen if user doesn't pass id, so we need to validate that. So here I will like if not id, then simply return task id is required. And after that, after getting the id, we need to find whether a task based on that id is present in our database or not. So for that, what we will do, const existing task is equal to await Prisma and task. We will to find that particular id task in our database. There is a method called find unique method. So this unique method will be finding, and similarly to the MySQL, how we will find, like select a name from, or select everything from task where id is this, like id is 1 or id is 2, so like that. So in MySQL, how we use where, here also we use where, but as an object. So here in an object we will use where, and here we will pass an object called id. We can simply pass as an id. This also work, or we can parse it, still it works. So I prefer this. And if suppose if id is not there, suppose we passed the id and here we are searching in the task table, and if there is not existing, then we need to simply show like error message like task not found. And if there is a task, then simply what we will do is like we will simply return that task. Here I will write like task is equal to existing task. So that's it. Now we have created our get task by id. We need to here import. So just import this here, and it's done. Now let's check whether it is working or not. So let's go to our Thunder client and let me copy this id. So you can see here title is demo title 222. So here what I will do is simply I will pass here our id, or we can also create in Thunder client. If we can create as much as new request we can. So if I don't want to use here, then I can also create new one, but let it be here only. I can let me do here only. So I just passed the id of our task, and I'm using get method and simply send. Okay, so you can see here we got a single task based on our task id. So it is working properly how we are looking for. So now let's go to our task API and let's create other methods. So we have created post method and get method, get all and get by id. Now we need is to update our task. So when we get our task, we also need to update. So let's create our put method, which is same path as an id. So it is same as get, here get by id how we have created, same path it will take by put method, but method here will be changing like update task by id. Your method name is changed from get task to update by id. So let's go to our controller, and here we will create our update by id method, update task by id method. So simply here request is request. Okay, here is asynchronous method which is request and request. Okay, so this is basing every we have done many times this one. Now what we have to do is, so to update any task we need to get first id. So we will get id from parents, request dot parents, and we need to validate that also. So I am validating. If user does not pass id, then how we can update? So that's why we, if there is no id, then we just simply show an error like task id is required. And after getting the task id, we will get all the requests from the body. So if the user, so update how it works means if user want to change anything in our task, then he can change. So as you know that in our model title is must, so user cannot leave or remove our title. So we need to make sure that title is always present. That's why here we will get title and color. And also we need to update our status of the task completion. So we need to get completed column also, and these thing will be coming from our request.body. And to validate that the user not remove our title, we need to validate like if title is not there, then we need to show that title is required error message. And after this what we will do is like updation. So before updating we need to find that the task is available or not. So first const existing task is equal to await Prisma task dot find unique. It is same what we have done with the get get id, get task by id in our here. It means in this method what we have done is same as below. So I am here also we are doing the same thing. Simply if the existing task is not present, then simply show that task is not found. And if it is present, then what we will do, simply update the const update task, and here await prisma dot task. And here in the prisma there is a method called update which will be updating. As we have only one task to update, we use update. If we have many, then we can use many, but currently we have only one, so we will use update method. And here in this method we will pass an object. So object is something like first we will find. So where to update? First we will pass condition where means id. If id matches, then update this thing. Okay, and what to update? So we will pass in the data section. If title is changed, update the title. Color is changed, update the color. And if it is completed is changed, then update it. So simply it will update when if the user update title, then it will just update the title. If user update completed, then it will be updated. Now after this, at last simply we will return status with 200, and we will simply return the task, updated task. So now let's go to our task route and simply import this method. And after importing, let's go to our Thunder client. And here for this task only I will be changing the title. So here we will select the first put method, and here I am changing only the title. and also I am adding new color like red color suppose, or white hash 1111 FFF. So this is white color and I want to change this title to 333. Now simply send. So now you can see our title is updated and also we added a new color. So it is working properly. If I also want to change the completed status to true, and if I send it, then you can see it is turned to true. So it is working properly. So our update method is done. Let's continue with the other API. So now let's start to create the other API. But before that, let me see what we have created. So we have created post method, get by ID, and update by ID. Now only one is left, that is delete method. So let's create our delete route, delete, and this is also follows the same as update method, like task slash ID. So we will delete our task also by using the task ID. So here the method name will be like delete task by ID. And after this, let's go to our controller, and here at the bottom we will export const delete by ID, and same we will do a sync method. Here we will pass request response, and here in the curly braces, first we need to access our task ID from request.parents. After getting the ID, we will validate that ID is present or not. If there is no ID, then we will simply show task ID is required. After getting the ID, we need to search for the task if it is existing or not. So const existing ID existing task is equal to wait prisma.task.find unique, and if we have, so this now by this code, by this line, it will check whether the task is present or not. If it is not present, suppose if it is not present, then simply show that the task is not found. After this, what we will do, if the task is existing, means if the task is present, then what we will do, simply we will delete the task. For that, what we will write, await prisma.task and simply delete. But where to delete? So we need to pass the ID. So where ID is equal to ID. So after successfully deletion, simply we will return the response, that is task is successfully deleted. So here we are getting error because we haven't imported our delete task by ID. After importing it, you can see here we have imported all the methods from our task controller, and here you can see our server is running properly. So let's go to our Thunder client, and here I will select delete method, and I am deleting this task. Already I have kept the task ID. Simply click on delete. So here we are getting no content found, but let's go to our router, and here after deletion we need to get like message called task deleted successfully, but we haven't get that message. But our task is deleted. Let me check. Let me get all the tasks and enter. So you can see here our task, only there is one task. So I think we have created our all the all the APIs and the routes which is required, like task, creating a task, get all tasks, get task by id, update task by id, and delete task by id. So I think we have successfully completed our backend part. Now is left is to create our front end. So we will be continuing in the next video.